Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Dr.NostalgiaGamer. Today I'm going to be doing a review of the Nintendo FamiCom Disk System. Okay, so let's do a little history of the FamiCom Disk System. Its official title is the Family Computer Disk System. It was released by Nintendo as a game console add-on for the Nintendo FamiCom. It was released on the 21st of February of 1986, and its media format was a proprietary floppy disk. Through the entire production of the FamiCom disk system between 1986 and 2003, 4.44 million units were sold. So let's take a look at the hardware. So first of all, let's look at the actual adapter first. So the FamiCom disk system requires something known as the Family Computer Disk System RAM adapter. This is a little black box thing that sits inside of your FamiCom that connects the disk system to the actual FamiCom. So the disk system alone isn't a standalone console. It's actually an add-on for the FamiCom system. So as far as the actual RAM adapter goes, basically it's just a FamiCom disk cartridge. Just a FamiCom cartridge. As you can see here, this is what the bottom half of the FamiCom cart looks like. And it has the pins just like a normal Famicom does, a Famicom game does. On the top of it, we've got this kind of design pattern here with Nintendo written. You've got Family Computer Disk System, and then you've got HVC-023, which is the product number of this guy. The way the RAM adapter connects is into the Famicom through the actual cartridge slot here. It plugs in, which I'll show you later. On the back of it, we got some Japanese here. It says RAM, and then we have a lot of Japanese, which I don't speak, so I'm not going to attempt to tell you what it says. Then we've got a HVC-023, and it says RAM adapter, 1985 Nintendo, made in Japan. We have a short cord here, probably about a foot long or so. On the end of it, we have a little connector that looks a lot like the AV connector used by the SNES, as well as the NESs that had the AV output. Honestly, it looks just like it, minus the little piece of plastic that goes down the center of it. But anyway, so this just connects right into the back of the actual Famicom disk system. So as far as the actual disk system, it's a red on black theme, a little bit different than the actual Famicom because it doesn't have the white on red theme, it's the black on red theme. A little bit cooler, honestly. It looks a little bit more sleek. On the front of it, it says Nintendo HVC-022 Family Computer Disk System. We have a little yellow button here with some Japanese below it. I'm assuming that says eject, because that is the eject button. On the right here, we've got some Japanese. I'm assuming that says power, because that little dot there is a power indicator light. And on the front of it, this is where the disk would slide in. This is basically just a floppy drive, very similar to the one used by the Commodore 64. It just slides your floppy disk there in the front. The top of it doesn't have anything on it other than the fact that it has a battery port here. So there's two ways to power this guy. You can use the same AC adapter that's used to power the Famicom, which is the same thing that can be used to also power the Genesis Model 1. On the back of it here, we have a RAM adapter slot. That's where the RAM port goes in. And then, like I said, you can also power it with batteries. So you've got a little piece of plastic that slides off there. And this sucker takes 6 C batteries to power. So it takes a lot of batteries, but and it does actually add a significant amount to its weight. But it's nice to have another option. On the bottom of it, we've got the 4 little rubber feet. We've got a little label here, which is entirely in Japanese, but I'm thinking this label, like I said, I don't speak Japanese, but I think this label is talking about how you should only use the original Famicom adapter. We have a serial number there on the bottom, and then right there, ingrained in the plastic, we have HVC-022 disk drive, 1985 Nintendo. As far as setting this guy up, what you're going to have to do is once you've gotten your batteries in, or you plug into your AC port, or whatever, however you should so choose, then you're going to take your RAM adapter here, and you're going to plug it into the back of the disk system in the RAM adapter slot. And then you're going to take your Famicom, and you're going to place it right on top. That's what it was designed for. The Famicom is supposed to sit right on top of the disk system. And then this is kind of the interesting part. So, like I said, the disk system isn't a standalone console. It actually uses the Famicom. So you flip open your Famicom, and you plug in your RAM adapter, just like that. It actually sits really snugly and nice in there. I actually kind of like it. And then all you have to do is you just flip on your FamiCom system, and the FamiCom port itself actually has a built-in program that plays even if the FamiCom disk system isn't on, which I'll show you here in just a second. And then when you actually are ready to use the FamiCom disk system, you just take your proprietary disk, slide it in, the little yellow tab will pop out, and you'll get a little red light that'll cut on to let you know that it's been cut on. The disk will load, and then you start playing the game. Because it's not a standalone console, it actually uses the controllers of the FamiCom, which, like I said, is actually a pretty good idea. The only real benefit that I know of to having a disk system, as far as like back in the day, was that the disk system output stereo sound, which meant that you could get better quality sound out of most of your games. The other reason is that back in the day, for a length of time, I think it was like a year or two, I don't remember exactly, games were only put on the disk system. No games were made for the FamiCom, only for the disk system. So that made it so that if you didn't own one, you couldn't even use your FamiCom. And then finally, the storage capacity on the disk cards was better than the actual cartridges themselves, which allowed developers to make better games with better graphics, better sounds, and more in-depth games in general. But that later faded as time went on. So as far as the actual disk system games go, the proprietary floppy disks, they came in these little plastic packages like this. This is actually a copy of Metroid that unfortunately does not work, at least on my disk system. I only own 3 games total for the disk system, Metroid, Ice Hockey, and Golf, and unfortunately Metroid does not work. It gives me the same error code every time I try to play this game. However, Ice Hockey and Golf both work fine. I've tried cleaning the head on the system. I've tried cleaning the actual game itself. Nothing has worked. So unless I can find somebody who has a FamiCom disk system that's willing to let me try this on their system, I'll never know if it actually works or not. But anyway, it's a good one to show off because it's got the plastic case on it and everything. So this is how these came. You can see there's a picture of the actual game, which in this case is Metroid. We've got the title Metroid written across the top. We've got Nintendo across the bottom. That is the little FamiCom disk system buddy character. And then up in the corner we've got FMC-MET, which is what codes for Metroid. Across the bottom here you can see the yellow Nintendo logo, which I'll get into later. On the back of it, you can see the label to the actual cart. You can see the Nintendo logo again. You can see that this particular game says AB, and then it's got the same symbol. That's the symbol for Metroid. It's saying that both sides, A and B, contain Metroid. There were games that only had one side, and there were games that were two-siders. Metroid's one of the games that had two sides because it was a bigger game. So A and B were both Metroid. I don't know what that says. It's in Japanese. I don't know any of that says either. So anyway, so let's open it up. So they were like clamshell cases. They pop open like this. And you can pull out the actual game, which I'll show you here. So you can see we've got side A, 1986 Nintendo, made in Japan. It says Metroid. Now, the reason why this Nintendo logo looks weird across the bottom here is because Nintendo had a physical barrier to pirators of games. So what this would do is that the FamiCom disk system itself has a little recessed part inside of it where this logo would sit, and if it didn't have that's the I and the N cut out like that, if there wasn't a hole there, it wouldn't fit in the system and it wouldn't read the disc. It was Nintendo's physical way of getting around that, which didn't work because all developers had to do was create cartridges with the same looking symbol on it. Most of them would just put holes across the bottom, and all of a sudden it would work. So it wasn't really effective. Just like an actual floppy disk, it's got a little disc inside of here that spins. On the top here, it tells you what side you're on. This is side A. And you can see here we've got a logo. It's saying do not physically touch it with your fingers because that will damage the logo. It also says do not place it near a magnet, as that will also damage it. That's what I think happened to this one, because the actual disc itself is beautiful. It's really clean and nice looking, but it doesn't work. So I'm assuming that this one had come in contact with something magnetic at some point. Anyway, on the back of it, you've got side B with the same stuff. All that same stuff there with the side B logo on the back of it. So to keep the games protected, they came in these little wax sleeves that came with every single game that would give you instructions on how to load it, telling you what you should and shouldn't do, basically telling you how to handle it, not to touch it, and things like that. And the wax sleeve kept dust and grime and just random stuff from getting on there. Inside the little part here, you have a little bit more instructions about stuff that you shouldn't do with it, things that you shouldn't do to the actual disc and things like that. Mostly common sense stuff. And that was a little piece of cardboard that fit inside there, and then you had a little plastic, the wax sleeve that would fit inside of there, and then your game would go comfortably inside of there and would fold shut in the clamshell. But anyway, so when the actual game loads, you don't really get to see a whole lot on the actual system. The only thing you get to see, actually, is on the front of it when we insert the game. You can see it kind of sits on the outside there. When we insert it, you get a little tab that pops out there. That little tab is the eject button, which you would push, and then you can eject the game. Okay, so in order to get this guy going, what we have to do first is we have to flip on the FamiCom. Now that the FamiCom's on, it's communicating with the disk system, letting you know that it's ready. We can now insert a game. You see the little red light comes on in the front there. And you can hear it reading the game. Here's a little startup screen that you get to see. This is when there's no game in the system, and this exact screen also happens when you have just the RAM adapter attached to the actual FamiCom. You can see that it says Nintendo. It's like a little like a neon light, and it says please set discard. You can see Luigi runs out and flips the light off. Mario runs out and flips the light back on. You get to see this little battle ensue between the two of them where they sort of fight for whether or not the light stays off or on. It's kind of funny. It's cute. So just so that you guys can see and know, I'm going to go ahead and try Metroid and let you guys see what happens. So you can see it says set discard. When you insert it, you get a little beep and it says now loading. And then we get an error with a terribly loud and unfortunate beeping sound that says disk trouble error 27, which is one of the errors, which means that there is something wrong with the actual disk itself. Okay, so let's get to some gameplay. Once again, I apologize. I only have the two working games, and they're both sports games, but I'll go ahead and let you guys see kind of like what happened. So this is going to be ice hockey that I'm inserting now. Get a loading screen just like usual. The disk system's going to make some noise. And we get this little mini loading screen. It's just saying Nintendo Family Computer, licensed by Nintendo, and there we go. We get the game loaded. So, there's ice hockey. I'm terrible at this game, by the way. Oh, God. Alright, well, I've had enough of that. Let's go to the next game, which is going to be golf. Okay, so here we go. Let's start golf. Just believe it or not, this game is actually a lot funner, in my opinion, than ice hockey. The music is not very good, but I believe this is an exact replica of the same golf game that was released on the NES. So, nothing real fancy here. I actually did get better at this game as I played it. Fuck. Damn it. Son of a bitch. Oh, God. Like a quintuple bogey or some shit like that. Oh. God, this is as frustrating as real golf. Ah. Alright guys, well that's it for this episode of Dr.NostalgiaGamer. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of the Nintendo Family Computer Disk System. It's a cool little system. It's definitely a cool little interesting piece of gaming history. Nintendo had actually originally planned on releasing a US and European version of the disk system for the NES, just like they did for the FamiCom in Japan. But they just, with timing and everything, it took so long for them to get the Famicom disk system out, and with the programming requirements and everything, it was just, the timing just wasn't right for a disc-based system in the US and Japan, and so it just never happened. So, but anyway, so the Famicom disk system is a cool little system. If you were to ask me if it were my opinion that you should be collecting for it, honestly, I would probably say no. The Famicom disk system is not cheap to buy. It's not easy to upkeep. The games are pretty expensive to purchase, and you can pretty much only find them in Japan for the most part, which means you're going to pay crazy shipping to get them here. The games are really easily corrupted, and it's hard to keep them in good shape, and they're also not the best games in the world to display because you're not supposed to put them in direct sunlight. There's a whole host of reasons why this system isn't the best in the world. Now, I do not regret one bit owning this system. I don't regret purchasing it. I don't regret buying the games that I have for it. I love the system. It's cool. It's right up my alley as far as video game history goes. So I think it's a cool little system. For me personally, it's worth collecting, but it isn't for everybody. So it just depends on what you're into and what you're okay with and what you're not. But anyway, so that's it for my review of the Famicom disk system. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please leave a like, a comment, and hit the subscribe button, and I will catch you guys next time.